It's the cold hard truth. Everyone really want to know what's going on with her show. Just get on the air and you will know it's Sandra. The queen of the mile road is here, helping people from everywhere. Get on the phone and you will hear Sandra. Now she will tell you how it goes, but don't you ever step on her toes, 'cause you will hear the cold hard truth from Sandra. They say she's the hero in town, helping people from all around. You get a call, your money is found, it's Sandra. Some will call her late at night just to say that there's a fight, and she will not just leave it alone. She'll get up and call on the phone, and when politics starts on her show, everyone really wants to know the way the things will really go with Sandra. Some will start to criticize, get on the show and tell pure lies, but soon they will realize it's Sandra. And when they start to argue again, she'll pull the heads to the wind, and soon you will be a friend of Sandra. 'Cause every day everyone wanna hear from Sandra. Every day, everyone wanna hear from Sandra. 'Cause every day, everyone got to hear from Sandra. 'Cause every day, everyone got to hear from Sandra.
All right, good morning, Cayman Islands. How is everybody doing? I've got my co-host, Zeus, in the studio. I think he wants to sit in that co-host chair this morning. He is ready for a wonderful show up ahead. Good morning, Miss Abby. I see you're the first person to comment in the, in the chat there. So good to see you. We're going to just send out the links to our channel. So yes, just a reminder that if you want to get the links directly in your inbox, please always follow the channel and you'll get those normally about a minute or two after the show starts. We go ahead and we send those out to everyone. So I'm just doing that right now. And we do have a special guest who's sitting in the back of the studio, and we're going to just start the conversation with her in just a second. So good morning. Wow, my phone was blowing up yesterday after that show. I've got some relevant updates, so I'll bring you guys up to speed on that a little bit later on. And then the second half of the show, we also have an exclusive interview with Mr. Charles Kirkernel, who is the CEO at Cayman Economic Zone. I always have to make sure I get that name correct. And then, so full show scheduled for your enjoyment here today. Very, very pleased about that. So we're on a roll this week. Lots of content for you as usual. And that's what we do. And that's what we do best. So let me just get these links sorted out. My apologies. And then we will get this show on the road, honey child. Everybody's doing wonderful. Everybody looking good, feeling good, and high spirits. Why not? Why not? All right, let's just remind you guys that the ECAP funding from the Ministry of Education Training is available. This is an excellent opportunity for you to get funding for the early childhood program. If you know of anyone, for the very first time, the new minister, the Honorable Ralston Anglin, has put provisions in place where other people can actually apply on your behalf, because we know, sometimes some parents struggle with paperwork and trying to do it themselves. So this is fantastic because it really allows people to assist you through the process. So have a quick listen to this message while we send out our links, and then we'll get back to our guests and kick off. Thank you so much.
If you're a parent right now, you already know the cost of living has gone up. Rent, childcare, groceries. When the cost of living rises, government must rise to meet it. And we have. Under the revised ECAP policy, our Early Childhood Assistance Program, we've increased funding to keep pace with what families are actually paying today for their children's early education. Who benefits? A father working every hour he can. A single mother doing it alone. A grandparent raising grandchildren they love. Maybe that's you. Up to 235 Caymanian children will benefit directly, and I want every single one of them to have the start they deserve. That is why we are here. If you've applied before and been disappointed, I encourage you to try again. If you've never applied because you assumed you wouldn't qualify, now is the time to find out. And if the funding didn't feel like enough before, it should now. Is your child 3 years old and Caymanian? You may qualify. Visit us at moeapplications.gov.ky and apply for the 2026-2027 academic year.
All righty, folks. So that's an excellent opportunity. If you are in need, please do look into it and take advantage of it. It's had expanded funding, and we want to make sure that all of our children here in the Cayman Islands have equal access to education. That, I can tell you, is the game changer in all of our lives. It's the equalizer, so to speak. All right, so thank you very, very much. I think you should now be getting the links any second now in the channel. And we are pleased, ever so pleased, to right, my apologies. We are ever so pleased to have joining us this morning a very, very special guest who represents a genuine milestone for the Cayman Islands. On Wednesday, July the 8th, Gloria McField-Nixon took the oath of office and was sworn in as the Cayman Islands Deputy Governor and head of the Civil Service, the first woman ever to hold the post. Can we get a virtual applause, ladies, about that? And at the same time, Caymanian. So that needs additional applause. Thank you very, very much. And, she is literally one of us who has worked incredibly hard and has moved up the ranks. So Mrs. McField-Nixon's story is one of nearly 3 decades of public service. She joined the civil service in 1997, rose to chief officer rank within 9 years, and was called to the Cayman Islands Bar in 2012 after articling at Walker's. Most recently, she served as chief officer for the portfolio of the civil service, where she had led 2 successive strategic plans that gathered over 1.7 million pieces of customer feedback and delivered a 91% satisfaction rate. In 2022, her leadership during the COVID-19 response earned her the certificate and badge of honor. And she now succeeds former Deputy Governor, Mr. Frans Manderson, who retired last week after 44 years of service and the last 14 as Deputy Governor. So she now leads roughly 5,000 civil servants across 14 ministries and portfolios. Please join me in welcoming Cayman's new Deputy Governor and head of the civil service, the Honorable Gloria McField-Nixon. Woo woo! Where we at here, folks? Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Good morning, Sandy. How are you this morning?
We are doing fantastic. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been a whirlwind this past first week.
Yes, I feel like so many people, you've been like silent and stealth in the background. So a lot of people, perhaps outside of the civil service, don't really know that much about you. So this is an opportunity to introduce you to the broader Cayman Islands community. And yeah, any questions that people may have about exactly what the deputy governor does, what her role is. Today is the day for you to ask those questions. 936-2626. The phone lines are open, but let's give her a few minutes to digest where we are. So can I just call you, what can I call you?
Gloria is wonderful.
Okay. All right. Some people like the formalities, but we know you're just incredibly down to earth, just like Mr. Manderson was as well. But so you're the first woman to hold this role in Cayman's history. Congratulations on that front. What did that moment in cabinet on Wednesday actually feel like once the oath was done?
Wow. It was absolutely incredible. Certainly over the many years that I have acted as the deputy governor, I've been in cabinet on countless occasions, but to take this, and every time you act, you take an oath. But to realize that this would be the last time I would take the oath as I was being admitted as a permanent member of cabinet was truly, truly humbling. What made that occasion even more special was to have my mother in attendance, as well as my husband and my son, and to just have them be able to witness this moment by my side was just truly incredible. It's
Wow.
The outpouring of support from across the civil service, the wider community, and of course, the very strong support demonstrated by Her Excellency the Governor and the Premier. The moment was the culmination of decades of hard work, working alongside amazing men and women within our civil service who are striving to deliver on behalf of the government and people of the Cayman Islands. And to come to that moment and have my family be present was just an absolutely amazing moment for me.
Wow. Has it really sunk in, you think? Or are you still digesting it a little bit?
So as you know, we've had like a 3 months transition. I was announced 3 months ago. There'd been a frenzy of preparations, including a trip to the UK, a trip to Bermuda, where I met fellow deputy governors who I've worked with in my substantive prior position as chief officer, supporting the DG very closely, but was able to interact with them now at the DG level. But it's all flown by, and it was really on that afternoon where we were saying goodbye to Mr. Manderson, and as he was pulling off, realizing that the team was now mine to lead. And that first morning coming in as DG, the tremendous privilege, but also responsibility of this position was fully upon me in that moment.
Wow, so amazing. So you said that this appointment is a moment that you share with the wider civil service who supported you along the way. Were there one or two people, from early in your 29 years of service that you think of when you reflect on your journey? I mean, obviously your mom has been instrumental on a personal level, but within the service itself, are there one or two people that you think, wow, this person has made a world of difference in my journey?
Oh, absolutely. When I reflect, my very first boss in the civil service was Mr. Loxley Banks. So my first degree, my first degree is in communication. So I, in my period, the summer between completing fifth form and heading into sixth form, I interned at Radio Cayman, which ended up becoming a 10-year long relationship with that organization. He was, the first leader within the civil service to believe in me and give me that opportunity. And to come full swing and be able to be there for the renaming ceremony of the building when it was named in his
Yes.
honor. That was just a particularly sweet moment for me to share that with him. It was so well deserved.
Wow.
Yeah. But within, by the time I finished sixth form, I took a gap year and I got my second position, which would have been at the archives. And Dr. Philip Pedley was also another very instrumental person within my career. He ensured that I understood that this gap year was just a 1-year period. I was destined for university, and he really supported me in my university bids as I was heading off. And then coming back, I've just had such tremendous leadership. Obviously, Mr. Manderson has been a huge mentor for me. But before him, I had the privilege, I was actually appointed under Mr. Donovan Ebanks and worked very closely with him as well as Mr. George McCarthy before him. So I've been blessed with incredible mentors throughout my tenure. And then just the amazing colleagues that I work with, fellow chief officers who have been absolutely amazing team to work alongside, including some amazing female leaders within our civil service, and even elected leaders I've had the privilege of serving with. The Honorable Juliana O'Connor Conley, so the first woman to ever hold the position of being premier, was just tremendous. And very early in my career, I had the opportunity of serving on the pensions board the first time around with the Honorable Sybil McLaughlin. So our very first clerk of Parliament anywhere in the Commonwealth, as well as our first Speaker of Parliament. And, you know, just so many incredible people in Cayman's history that by virtue of working within the civil service, I have had the privilege of observing them up close and having private mentorship. And it's just, you know, like many civil servants, I feel like I've had such a very rich blessing in being within this organization.
Oh my goodness. So amazing. You went from university graduate to chief officer in 9 years. What is the one decision or turning point in your climb that you tell a young Caymanian civil servant to pay attention to? And I think I know what it is, but let me see if what I'm thinking aligns with what you're going to say.
It was definitely working hard, putting myself in positions that were outside of my comfort zone. I think, you know, as leaders, many people think it's about what you do once you get a big position. It's actually what you're doing, you know, right in the position you hold. So as a young graduate, I became very involved in the civil service. I was a part of our Civil Service Association. I used to organize, as a young graduate, a civil service fair. And we would have many departments that would be showcasing to the public what the civil service, all the services the civil service delivered in order to positively impact their lives. And I really came to the attention of leaders because I was speaking about things, you know, about the pride I had within the civil service, but also about things that I realized could be changed within the civil service that would benefit the organization and the people who worked within it. And so I became very active early on, and that led me to opportunities to be a part of the reform initiatives that were happening within the civil service, as well as opportunities when we had challenges. So if I think about 9/11, just after 9/11, I moved from the Ministry of Finance, which had financial services at that time, and went into the Ministry of Tourism. And it was about really rebuilding confidence in the traveling public to visit again, because that was a lifeblood of our economy, and just had tremendous opportunities to work with men and women across our tourism sector in that role, including when we had to go into Hurricane Ivan and Hurricane Paloma and rebuild our tourism sector, both here in Grand Cayman as well as Cayman Brac. So just, you know, working hard, doing the small things as well as the big things, and finding a way to celebrate the remarkable men and women by your side who are helping to make really great things happen on behalf of the people.
Wow. Not what I was thinking, but I was thinking, because you just mentioned the importance of education, Gloria,
Yes.
and how, one of your earlier mentors said to you, this is just a break. You are going to go to university. This is not a situation where you're not going to get that piece of paper. So I was kind of thinking that, that might be it. But of course, there's always more than one element of a person's success story, putting in the hard work, even when you're at university. So at the foundation, what you've said is, truly, truly amazing. Folks, don't forget the phone lines are open. Call in and wish Miss Gloria, congratulate her, and feel free to wish her the most amazing success in her newest role. Let's talk about the transition then from Mr. Manderson. Franz Manderson, former deputy governor, called you an outstanding example of servant leadership. That's a quote. What's the single most important thing that you're taking from his 14 years as deputy governor, and what's the first thing you intend to do differently?
So, Mr. Manderson, as you've mentioned, has been just this tremendous positive force within our civil service. The big takeaway that I have from Mr. Manderson, and he left me a personal note that was the first thing I received as I came into the office in the first instance as deputy governor. There was a note there from the outgoing DG, and his first message to me is one that I always hold dear to my heart, which is take care of the team. There are incredible men and women across our civil service who are called upon to serve in many different ways. But in each of those things, we know that it comes with a lot of sacrifice in many instances. And, they work under very challenging circumstances. We've been supporting a rapidly growing society, changes in administrations, changes in the expectations of the public we serve. So supporting them so that they're able to deliver their best to the people we serve, including the government, is something I will always hold very dear to my heart. It's a top priority of mine. But I also recognize that the challenges that are facing Cayman are not static. Mr. Manderson has had tremendous success in delivering within his time and many of the reforms that we were pursuing. But technology is playing an ever increasing role in the way that the average citizen lives. And we're really called upon to make sure that it's also positively impacting the way we work. So as we are trying to contend with the fact that Cayman is still growing, it means that we have to evolve the way we think about matching that growth and being able to deliver our services to meet that growing demand, to meet the expectations and the speed with which things can be turned around, and to be able to meet the way that younger persons coming into the organization expect to work as well. So I can tell you that technology will play a much greater role in the way that I look at how we are able to serve the people of the Cayman Islands.
Yes, wonderful. And those of you who are watching it, you'll see that we're putting some photos up of her swearing in early days already in the position. So she has some here with, it looks like caucus members. We've got the official photo of her signing that very, very important appointment letter. This one, it looks like this is your office staff. Or some of the chief officers?
These are the chief officers, including persons who are not in core government. So we've got the Clerk of Parliament there, Ms. Zena Marin-Chin. We've also got our ombudsman there, as well as the acting deputy director of Department of Public Prosecution. So, and then the core civil service team as well.
Yes, wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. All right. So we've got a message here from one of your former classmates. Marshall says, good morning and congrats, Gloria, class of 1990.
1990, of course. real moment of celebration. And there's a number of the class of 1990 that are also in this chief officer group. And
Really?
yeah, we took a special photo. I don't think it's in the ones you have, but
Yeah.
that class of 1990, and includes, of course, the Honorable Minister Michael Miles as well. So class of 1990, big shout out to us.
Wow, wow, wonderful. We do have Miss Stephanie also saying congratulations, Miss Gloria. May God blessings be with you, Stephanie Brooks. Thank you so much, Miss Stephanie. We've got Miss Lucille, who's joining us from the UK, and she's sending her blessings as well, and honoring you, Gloria. She says, we're looking forward to seeing your good work coming up, and stay strong. When we talk about the various departments, your visits to the UK departments, for example, part of your training and the transition that happened, what's actually on those agendas? Like, what is it that you're hoping to bring back from a trip like that?
So I've been working for over the past decade in areas of public sector reform. But I obviously wanted to talk not just with their civil service, but some of their think tanks, so the external groups that sort of look on at what's happening with public sector opportunities, and what they, seeing some of the challenges. The other area that I'm very keen to have a better grasp of is, what are the issues regarding border control? We know that the situation in Cuba is always volatile. Getting an understanding of what's happening there, sharing what our preparations are, and what sort of thoughts they had about that. Any sorts of things that I needed to be aware of as it related to, issues regarding intelligence for the way that Cayman is vulnerable to drugs or human trafficking, those issues. Child safeguarding is a huge part of the Office of the Deputy Governor. I chair, as Deputy Governor, our Child Safeguarding Board, so understanding how the key agencies that are responsible for keeping our children safe, how they are collaborating, working across silos. Those were some of the key areas, but the highlight of the visit was actually being able to spend some time with the students who are in the UK studying. So you talked about education being important, and you're absolutely right. As we speak, there are about 170 odd Caymanian students who are currently interning within the civil service. They are in all areas of our operations. I'll be immediately following our talk this morning. I'll be joining some of them. We've been delivering different workshops to them while they've been with us. So not just getting work experience, but we're also helping them with their branding, helping them with their interviewing skills, assisting them in understanding the career opportunities that lay ahead. So there's been a lot of that. And this year, we've also expanded our partnerships with the private sector. Many of our students are studying things that are not part of our core delivery within the civil service, and we wanted to expand opportunities for their employment as well. So we've got about 20 odd private sector companies who will be supporting between 40 to 50 Caymanian students as well with internships this summer. So we use the fact that we're the single largest employer to really make sure that we can demonstrate to our young people that they are very much cherished here at home, that we are looking forward to welcoming them back, and that we want to be a big part of helping them prepare for their future careers. And we leverage our position as the largest employer to also get our private sector partners to come on board with that. So that was definitely the highlight, speaking to those students.
Thank you so much. My monitor just flipped behind me, so my apologies for having to look back there and grab elements of my screen. Switch
you got a lot of monitors you're managing.
I know, trust me. And occasionally that one just takes over. So Miss Romelia is sharing some comments as well. Good morning, Miss Romelia. She wishes, she says, good morning, honey child. Yes. Cayman Islands and Deputy Governor, congratulations. Make us proud. Have a blessed and victorious day in the Lord. Good morning to Miss Barbara. Aisle 2025 has a question. Can you ask her about the hiring freeze? Why is CIG growing so much? The glass house no longer the glass house, the government building. Why is it still? Oh, she means the original glass house. Okay, it's still sitting there. Any plans to raise pay or implement performance bonuses yearly? Thank you. So a couple things mixed in there.
Yes.
So you can feel free to address those in whatever order you'd like.
Absolutely. So we don't have a hiring freeze, as the public will be aware. The government has brought its 2-year budget, and in that 2-year budget, they identified a number of positions that they wanted to fund in order to deliver the government's policy agenda. You will see that we've been doing some significant things, for example, in the area of education, to make sure that we're able to support younger children, so within our reception classes that we offer within government schools, but also successive administrations have also been supporting special education needs of students and making sure that we are able to support their success as well. And so we've seen in places like education, there's been an increase in headcount of civil servants. We've been investing heavily in security to make sure that Cayman can continue to be the safe place that we've all cherished and known as part of who we are as a people. But that has meant not only increasing police officers to match our population growth, but also understanding criminals are crafty people. They, I tell people all the time, and, to rob you, there was a time people at least had to get out of bed and come to you. But the world is very different now, and we have to be aware of all the cyber crime and financial fraud that happens as well. And so police have to match those areas as well in order to tackle those things. And there's just been a general increase in, work permit requests and our ability to keep up with processing of those types of transactional requests across our community. So we have been growing. And it sounds like the caller is familiar with the fact that has meant in our government administration building, accommodations are tight.
Yes.
Within my own portfolio of the civil service, we have offices that were once intended for one person that are now accommodating a 3-person team. And so we know that that's very much the case. But I haven't heard any immediate plans for the glass house. There have been different plans over the years, including plans about either tearing it down in order to make way for a green space, or potentially at one point we were having discussions when this building was originally built about the possibility of having a twin facility, but no discussions in recent times about how we might repurpose the glass house. And then in terms of the discussions regarding pay increases, we take very seriously our civil service is a predominantly Caymanian institution. Civil servants make up a big part of the middle class. We know merchants in Cayman depend very heavily upon that civil service spend. But we obviously have to make sure that spend is something that is sustainable within government's overall expenditure. So we do have discussions regularly about our pay to make sure we're taking into consideration the impact of inflation, but also looking at performance-based pay. So one of the objectives within our current civil service strategy is to deliver to the government a proposal for performance-based pay. And that is something that I am expecting will be delivered within a year. It's still for the government to decide if this is something that they can support. But I am encouraged by the fact it is a factor that's listed within their strategic policy statement and something that's listed within the civil services strategic plan. So that is something we are very much working towards.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So this person says, I really love to hear the Honorable Gigi speaks. She is a true intellectual. One person says, is she Jamaican? She doesn't sound Caymanian. Oh my goodness, Gloria. Maybe what we needed to do is we needed to start out this conversation about who you from?
Right, right. So my mother is Beulah McField.
Yeah.
My uncle is Frank McField, that many people know. My grandmother was Miss Onisha. My grandfather was Charles Verdon McField. I have strong Caymanian heritage on both sides of my family. My grandfather McFields from Georgetown. My grandmother was a Dixon from East End. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I was born in the U.S. My first degree is in communications, so I, I'm very used to speaking in public forums and paying attention
Mm-hmm.
to my diction. But I assure everyone that I am multi-generational Caymanians, and Caymanians look many ways and sound many ways.
Yes, so true. Can you tell me a little bit about your university life? Where did you go to university?
So my first degree is from Howard University in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
I studied communications, minored in political science, and it was an absolutely amazing experience at Howard. Um,
Yes.
yes. So I was part of the International Students Association, the Caribbean Students
Mm-hmm.
Association, honor societies. I worked for our university chapel, which was an amazing experience as well. I got to see incredible speakers that came to our campus during that time. So it
Mm-hmm.
was Archbishop Desmond Tutu was one such individual that I will never forget. And so it was an incredible place to study communications, being in Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
And then my second degree is in law from the University of Liverpool here through our
Mm-hmm.
Cayman Islands campus. I've
Wonderful.
also have qualifications in leadership. I have qualifications in managing crises. Yes.
Wonderful. Miss Vicky says, congratulations, Gloria. Any woman can speak from her head without a script is most welcome to her new role. So again, talking about that strong communications background. So you've led two successive strategic plans since 2018 that produced 1.7 million pieces of customer feedback responses and a 91% satisfaction rate. Where is that 9% still falling short? And what is the plan to close in on that?
Yeah. So when we first started with the first iteration of the strategic plan in 2018, there were some real hotspot areas. I don't know if you remember, Sandy, when we had license plate gate at vehicle licensing, couldn't seem to match a license plate for anything.
Yes.
And there was a lot of challenges with the way that people were experiencing getting their driver's license or vehicle's license, long
Mm-hmm.
queues that went outside of the building. The same sort of thing used to exist at immigration. I don't know if you remember
Mm-hmm.
people queuing up in the hot sun to get into the building. So we tackled a lot of those areas of
Mm-hmm.
concern, and vehicle licensing now is one of the places where we get some of the highest customer satisfaction. I will forever retain a very young looking driver's license because I don't have to go in
And redo the photo
to
every
redo
time.
the photo. You can do those things online now. So that team, I always
Yes.
like to give them a huge shout out. And we have deployed our Happy or Not terminals across not just those high transaction points, but we've looked at things like the Department of Financial Assistance, and we even have them in one or two police stations. We really want to
Mm-hmm.
understand across the gamut what is the public's experience. Of course, highest volumes coming from places like the airport. There are
Mm-hmm.
some of our areas which have structural challenges. So a number of tiers of things that cause concerns. And it's typically in areas where we see sustained high volume growth. So our colleagues that are at the Department of Work have done a fabulous job in really implementing brand new legislation that's come into force and supporting so much change, adopting technology. But the sheer volume that hits them and the complexity of the legislation that they deliver against always means that they will have some challenges. And it's predominantly in that space where departments are contending with really high volume requests and changing context, that we still have some areas of challenge. And I think the next challenge that we have is around the space of the infrastructure that people have to deliver in. When we think of men and women who support and deliver in our prison service, when we think about individuals in our National Archives, is always close to my heart. They have real treasures there. They are holding Cayman's history, but the physical infrastructure that they're dealing with presents them with some significant constraints that sometimes even impacts public access. So those are some of the places that we still have challenges dealing with the growth and demand, and then places where our physical infrastructure creates challenges as well.
Wonderful. All right. Andrew sending his congratulations. Miss Sue Bodden also sending hers. Miss Dorothy McLeod. Good morning, Miss Dorothy. We've got Miss Thelma Ebanks here in class sending us messages as well. She says, well done, making us so proud. Miss Hortensia Bent says, congratulations and many blessings, Gloria. We love you. Alfred Reel says, good morning, Auntie Sandy and Madam Deputy Governor. I've had the pleasure of meeting Ms. McField-Nixon, and she was the epitome of professionalism and poise. She was very approachable and warm, and I'm looking forward to her being the head of the civil service. Congratulations, Madam Deputy Governor. She's an example of why we need more women in leadership. Wow. That's amazing. Thank you, Alfred. Isle has another question. Are students still made to return to Cayman to work after university if they get a scholarship? Why not mandate that they work overseas for at least a year? It will benefit them and the country. So what is the current position? I know that this isn't exactly something that falls under your remit, but you may know as someone who was just head of POX.
So years back, not telling you how many years ago I was under the scholarship and had my mandate, but many years ago, the bonding was actually to the civil service. Now students have broader freedom. They are bonded to return to the country, but they are allowed to get work experience within the countries that they're studying. So if they have the opportunity to continue on and work within the UK or the US or wherever it is that they're studying, they do have that option as well, because it gives them, so many times you'll hear individuals talking about that exposure. It gives them that exposure that will benefit them as they're coming into their career.
Wonderful. Real Deal says a prime example of what education and determination can do for you. Miss Emma, good morning to you. Marjorie, morning dear, says congrats to Deputy Governor, Miss Gloria. As a previous civil servant, I'm so happy to see that you are our new DG. God bless you, and I look forward to seeing great things from you. Please ensure that other young Caymanians are groomed to take over when you are ready to retire. God bless you. Retirement. We're talking about retirement already.
Well, you have to think about it. You have to be leading with that in mind. None of us holds the seat forever.
Yep, absolutely. All right. 90% of the civil servants report pride in their work, but pride doesn't always mean retention. What does the data say about the civil service actually leaving the civil servants, my apologies, actually leaving the service, and why? Not sure if you have any data on this, but I thought I would ask.
Yeah, so we publish our annual HR trends, and that includes retention. So overall, the civil service has fairly strong retention. Our turnover rate, I think, was around 7 or 8% in terms of people that are leaving the organization. And I would say that there are some periods where that turnover is higher. So we look at specifically what's the experience within the first year, when do people tend to leave us? And so making sure that we have that best experience in the first year of employment is something that is our current target of focus. That includes creating more streamlined onboarding that would ensure that across our very diverse organization, people are having a similar way of coming into CIG and understanding about it. So we have historically provided a mandatory orientation where I, as when I was chief officer of POCS and Mr. Manderson as deputy governor, would speak to every new person that was coming into the organization. But then a lot of the departmental further orientation was handled in a way that was decentralized. So we're looking at how we can create an improved, enhanced way for onboarding the incredible men and women we're able to attract to the civil service.
You'll be leading roughly 5,000 civil servants across 14 ministries and portfolios. What would you say is the single biggest structural bottleneck within government service delivery today?
We have so many manual processes. You know, we're largely using technology now to replace the post office, as it were. So applications come into us, but then behind the scenes, there are teams of men and women who are working furiously to process those applications. We really expect that technology would go beyond depositing the request to our door and be a part of the agents that we deploy, the human agents that we deploy within the service to also process those. So that is something that I'm working very closely with the ministry that's responsible for innovation to ensure that across our civil service, the men and women who are serving have better tools that make their jobs easier and make it possible for them to contend with the growth we're experiencing in demand.
Fantastic. You've touched on technology a few times already this morning. Obviously, a key driver, I think, in any organization in 2026. We can't have a conversation about technology and not touch on artificial intelligence and the way in which it is changing our lives as we speak. When you talk about the manual processes behind the scenes, do you see AI? And there's lots of components. Like I tell people, the average person uses AI at a very, very superficial level. There's so many elements of coding and other things that are now possible in the background. Do you see AI being a driving force of what the civil service can do better and utilizing that tool to deliver more efficient and effective services?
Absolutely. So this year, the civil service rolled out its first AI policy. We have included mandatory training. So part of our training that every single civil servant has to participate in is understanding what that policy means. This is a big part of ensuring as we deploy AI that we have the right safeguards in place and people understand how to avoid exposing sensitive information to data leakage. The other things that we're doing is building the framework to ensure that AI can be deployed safely. Ideally and ultimately, our goal is to have our own AI infrastructure, which is a sort of national place that we would be able to deploy sensitive information and put AI over our various data sets in ways that would allow us to be able to respond to more complex requests and processing. That would help us to reduce some of the back and forth that we have right now and asking people for information that government already holds on them. So a big part of that is making sure that we can do that safely. The teams are already working on that, but the first tier is really making sure that we sensitize our staff to what our AI policy is. We have been procuring tools and deploying that across the organization to make sure that people have access to AI tools within the ways that they work. And we're also building out in our core competencies. This is a different skill set. So we want to be intentional about the way that we're training individuals to utilize it. For some people, they will continue to utilize it at a fairly, low accessible level. But for others who work with particularly large data sets, there will be more enhanced training that will be expected. And then, of course, for our leaders, we need to understand what opportunities AI presents to all of the areas of responsibility that we have.
Fantastic. Live Happy joining in the comment section. Live Happy says, congratulations, DG, Mrs. McField-Nixon. By the way, I absolutely love your grandmother, Miss Onisha's homemade coconut cookies. Oh, was that a thing? I always bought a few after school.
I miss her dearly. My grandmother was just this, she was a huge influence over me. My grandmother defied, long before, breaking glass ceilings was a thing, in the way that she was this entrepreneur, in the way that she was a strong figure within our family, within our community. She was multi-generational Caymanian, but born her.
I think we had a little glip in the internet there. We'll just wait for that to kick back in. Hopefully it won't take too long to do so. This is technology. Sometimes the internet acts up a little bit. All right. So while that is dropping back in, let's go ahead and pull up another one of the comments. Oh, looks like it's frozen for a while. All right, I'm gonna pull her out, and then I'm gonna pull you back in. You just got frozen for a little bit there. DG, we're just waiting for you to come back up on the screen. So hopefully there we go. Yeah, there we go. No, the internet, what can I say? Sometimes we have blips in the internet. So my apologies.
Mentioned technology three times and it happens.
I know it the technology bug's like, we're gonna remind you. Thank you so much. We have another comment that comes in on WhatsApp. It says, feels like just yesterday I was listening to her read the news on Radio Cayman. What a journey. So I actually never knew that about you. So that is so incredibly interesting. Congratulations, DG McField-Nixon. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Ms. Irvlin also sending her congratulatory messages. World-class civil service. This is a term that has been coined. It's been a slogan now from under France Manderson. I can't remember exactly when it started, but it's been a number of years.
2018.
It was 2018. Mm-hmm. All right. What does that look like in practice, though? Because, sometimes I feel like we put these slogans together and then it's like, okay, that sounds great. That sounds fine. But when you talk to individuals, sometimes they're like, are we sure this is a world-class civil service? It's kind of like the other one, the Cayman kind. And then people get fatigue, which is kind of interesting, from the slogan, because they make the criticism that in practice, it doesn't actually apply. So when we think about what this world-class civil service will look like under your tenure, it's not just a slogan. What is it in practice in a Cayman specific sense?
Absolutely. So when we agreed that this was our vision, and I want to start off by saying this is the vision. This is the aspirational statement for our organization. And we realized that when we set this as our aspiration, there were going to be people who said, that's not world class, right? So it would be kind of putting a target on our back. But we felt very strongly that if we were going to have a strategy for the civil service, we need to set our standards high. As we were consulting around the civil service, even in those areas that were sometimes problematic, you would hear from our customers, well, but if I get on to Sandy, or if I get on to Sue, or if I get on to John, they always know the right answer. So across our civil service, without exception, we were hearing about men and women who the public and internal stakeholders all said, now this is an exceptional individual. Whenever I interact with them, I always have a good experience. And so we were really leveraging that to say, we already have these outstanding individual experiences. We really needed to leverage our lessons from when when you had encounters with those individuals, i.e. when the civil service was at its best, what things were present, so that we could focus a strategy around making those things the norm. So that was very much what being world class was about. We also have spent considerable time over the past 8 years bringing in other individuals to talk about what it meant to be world class in customer service delivery, what world class leadership looked like, and really trying to expose our teams to how we could up our game. And we've seen some fantastic examples of that. We've talked about the feedback that we get directly from our customers who utilize our services, but we've also done this against what it means in leadership. So when we started our civil service strategic plan back in 2018 with this vision, we also paired that with an employee engagement survey. And we utilized the exact instrument that they use in the UK civil service. What we have found was within a couple of years, we were exceeding our benchmarks. So even in terms of our average leadership experience within our civil service, it was exceeding some of the places that we had identified as being the world-class standards that we wanted to pursue. So, when you've got customer satisfaction averaging between 90 to 93%, employee engagement at 74%, within our schools, we have eradicated all public schools that had any sort of weak rating from internationally inspected Office of Education Standards. And now all of our schools are satisfactory and better. Many of them, several of them are at good, on par with our private sector. This is what it looks like when we are moving to being a world-class organization. So we still very much position this as being a journey. We're not saying we're there yet. But we've always found, even in our places of challenge, that there have been men and women who are exceptional. And we've very much tried to replicate those experiences in the way we all work.
Fantastic. Lots of great questions coming in. And of course, don't be shy. You guys look like you're a little bit shy this morning to call in. Feel free to call in 9362626 if you have a comment or question. For the new Deputy Governor, Miss Gloria, feel free to do so as well. Some really fantastic. I'm just queuing up a few more. But AJ says, your trusted messengers. I'm not sure what that's in relation to. Dean Sinclair, good morning, Miss Dean. Damaris, good morning to you. Miss Anita says, good morning, Sandra and Madam Deputy Governor. Congratulations, Miss Gloria McField-Nixon. It's wonderful seeing you rise over the years. Wishing you much success, continued growth within your new role, and meeting the various challenges ahead. We're going to start to wrap up here now because Miss Gloria is obviously very, very busy. So she's given us an hour of her time this morning. But one person actually said that slogan made them work harder, which I think is good. So they were trying to live up to that standard of a world-class civil service.
It has been a rallying call for us. We've all looked at how we can up our game, including as senior leaders within the organization. And, sometimes it's hard sometimes to compare experiences. But if you look back during COVID, the entire world was floored by what was happening within COVID. But to see the way that we were able to deliver against the government strategy, the way that we were able to meet the public's need. Civil servants were going outside of their normal delivery. I mean, people at the fire station were using their kitchens to cook food for people that needed it. Police officers were not just enforcing curfews, they were delivering mass door to door to make a difference. Teachers were not just online delivering lessons, they were making sure that they were doing child safety checks in homes and delivering food to children who were relying upon it. It will vary what it means in the moment, but increasingly civil servants are looking to how they can make that difference in the person that's standing in front of them. And I'm always, I've grown up within this organization. My love for this civil service has been from day one. It has given me tremendous opportunities. But as a young person growing up in a single parent household, this has really become my second family. And I've seen so many young Caymanians who have had tremendous career opportunities within the civil service and have used those opportunities to find ways of giving back. So that's what it means for us to be world class.
Thank you so much. We do have a caller in the line, so let's give preference to the caller. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Auntie Sandy. Good morning, Madam DG.
Good morning.
I had a question for Madam DG. The Honorable Franz Manderson, who just left, I know he started some initiatives that were, like promoting health and anti-bullying. Are there any initiatives that you plan on implementing in the civil service?
Absolutely. We have our wellness initiatives that are there with our mental health first aid kit. We know that there's so many stress that civil servants as people that are within our community face, both in terms of professional demands, but even challenges that they face at home. So the mental and physical well-being of our staff are important. We have done things to also support our staff with financial literacy, helping them to be able to manage their personal budgets, but also prepare for their future as they are looking to things that they may want to accomplish in the future, whether that's home ownership or whether that's about their retirement. So we're very much looking to support the entire spectrum of well-being within our civil service and have a wellness strategy and a wellness team that deliver a broad set of resources to support with that. So that's definitely something that we'll be focusing on. I saw there was a question as well about it can be difficult sometimes to get your questions answered. Could we have more interactive things on the website to support questions? And absolutely, that's exactly the types of things that we can leverage technology to help us do. There is so much policy that exists in our laws and the way that our operations run. And if it's hard for our teams to do it full time to stay on top of it, I can only imagine how difficult that can be for the public. So these are ways that we are looking to leverage technology to make your lives better.
Caller, anything else?
All right. Thank you so much, Madam DG. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your call.
Yes. And as Anthony has made a note of here, Anthony says, well, actually, aisle 2025 says, when will she be on next? So this kind of engagement, Gloria, is precisely what our audience wants, right? Where you can come on the show and answer their questions, frank and honestly, to the best of your ability. Do you commit to being a regular, not just obviously on this platform, but just regular communications with the general public? And I think that I speak for most of the general public when I say that this level of engagement is what is appreciated immensely.
Absolutely. So one of the things that I wanted to raise, we're coming at a really important time. One of my priorities is to finish what we started. So our current civil service strategic plan is wrapping up here in 2026, which means I have the privilege of leading the effort to build our next strategy. Historically, we have done our consultations very heavily, if not exclusively, internally. This year, I will be leading engagement that also includes coming out to the public to understand what's on the public's mind when the civil service is at its best. In your experiences, in your encounters, what things did you find that you would like to see being the more common experience when you utilize the civil service? So that is definitely something that I commit to. My first time being on your show, Sandy. It's the first time you invited me. I
know someone said, has she been on before? And I was thinking to myself, and I'm like, I don't think so. So
I'm gonna put that in our family chat.
And I think it's fair to say that, you know, we ask the tough questions here. CMR is, in the cold hard truth, is never about sugarcoating anything, but we honestly, I do not bite. You can go and spread the word.
No, absolutely.
So
engagement with the public is so important, and it's been incredible to hear from all of your viewers and listeners today. So thank you so very much for this opportunity, and absolutely open to coming back.
All right. Anthony wants to know if you'll be continuing things like the GG's Run Walk, which has become an immensely successful program.
Absolutely. It's one of the first things that I confirmed, that the DG 5K will continue. We honored the deputy governor by retiring his number 1 jersey in honor to him. I will be very proudly wearing that number 2 at the next DG 5K, which we've announced the date. So they'll begin in late February, and you'll see more information about that. Some rebranding to happen. DG used his DG blue. I will have a new DG color to support the 5K, but we build on each other's successes. We don't tear them down. So it's going to be my absolute privilege to continue the DG 5K.
Another program, Anthony's wondering if it will be continued, will be the Second Chance, the Deputy Governor's Second Chance program continue, since that was overseen personally by Mr. Manderson. Will you be continuing that as well?
I have already secured in the last meeting of Parliament an additional $1 million investment in our Second Chances program, and we are currently in the process of onboarding 10 additional persons through that program before year end.
Fantastic. All right, caller, good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I just wanted to say congratulations to the new DG, and I just wanted to say how refreshing this conversation has been, especially hearing her speak about, building on each other's successes. And, that was part of her journey, working her way up in the civil services, how she could support, other staff members. I just feel like as Caymanians, we should look at that as an example and strive towards that, because I think we're at our best when we support each other instead of this crabs in a bucket mentality that we once had. I feel like she's setting the tone for us to follow, and it's very refreshing conversation. So I just wanted to say thank you and congratulations.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Okay, we're starting to wind up here. Miss Marjorie says, my question is, DG, what will you do to ensure that Caymanians moving into senior level will get the cross-training experience that they need to go higher in the civil service?
Absolutely. So at my very first senior leadership meeting, so that's the meeting of chief officers, we were talking about the chief officers training program that was rolled out this year and is continuing into next year. And we had a request that had come forward to make sure we were doing the same for our deputy chief officers. So for that team that often substituted for chiefs, that are a big part of the succession planning, even up to deputy governor's position. So we will be building out that program next. We offer considerable training, as you know, through the Civil Service College for all of our teams. And we have secondments that are available to allow people to get that cross-training and exposure. We'll be looking to build on that so that the rotations are a big part of how our staff prepare. I have had the privilege of working under 3 ministries' portfolios. It has helped me be exposed to different leaders, including political leaders, and has been a big part of my preparations to take this seat. So I do think that exposure, cross-training is a big part of taking on more senior positions, and I will certainly be encouraging that.
Very good. Lavana says, Madam DG, so deserving of her. She's been in an acting position many times and has done the job. She's awesome. I feel so proud as a Caymanian woman. Congrats over and over again, Gloria. Thank you so much. AJ joining in says this DG seems like a lovely soul. So well, Taylor says to the last caller. Kaboom! Miss Margie's asking for the last caller to get a kaboom. Cayman Friendly Tour says, good morning. Congratulations. Glad to hear that the DJ 5K continues. And hopefully she renames it France Manderson DJ 5K. Let me just see. We have a question that says, could you ask what is going on with the naturalization applications as there's a backlog? Why is there a delay?
Thank you so much for that. So when we had changes in the Immigration Act, we received literally hundreds of applications that came in from individuals who wanted to benefit before the time qualifications came in, as well as the increases in fees. So we did see the number spike. I can tell you that I received an update from the team. They have gone through half of the numbers that we've received. So they've been processing very steadfastly. The technology that interfaces with the public is something that we're still trying to resolve. So we know that there has been some periods when the technology has not been stable, and that's impacted people being able to use it. But as soon as those applications are received, the teams are processing them behind the scenes. The other challenge I understand that happened is when everyone was trying to get in their applications quickly, some of them didn't submit full applications. So part of the time is going back to say, you don't have a full application. Before we can take this further, you need to provide the additional outstanding information. But all of that is happening by the team.
Right. But once their application was submitted, they should be good. They're not going to fall under the new fee structure. Yeah.
Once they're submitted, they're in time, and we'll process them by those timelines.
All right. Let's do two final questions. This person says, could you ask her if archive is close to her heart? Does she have any plans to digitize their collection similar to what the Compass did, particularly since we live in a hurricane belt and the collection is vulnerable? Talking about the National Archives now.
Yes. So certainly we have we're working very closely with Minister Isaac Rankin, responsible for culture. And so we have been talking about digitizing those assets that are not so vulnerable that they can't be put through that process. Some of our holdings are really large. If we're thinking about some of the ledgers that we would have kept that are over 100 years old, they don't lend themselves to that process in mass. But the other documents we are certainly looking at, including moving to a digital by default. So we're reducing our demand for storage of physical records.
Right. That's fantastic. Paul joining us from Bermuda. He says, good morning, Sandra. Congratulations to the new deputy governor, Ms. Gloria. It's interesting that the deputy governor is a Caymanian. In Bermuda, the deputy governor is appointed by the UK government, Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office. A Bermudian has never been appointed to the post. Wow. I had no idea.
Yeah, I was just in Bermuda and had the opportunity of interacting with their head of public service, Ms. Sherry Witter, who's an amazing, amazing lady. But they've got a different structure, different constitution. So they don't have a Bermudan as deputy governor. But I think a big part of how we, maintain our close relations, and also just making sure this role serves as a bridge between the UK and Cayman. I get to advocate very strongly for Cayman in my position, including my interactions with the UK, and also to make sure that the responsibilities for governance and security are fully understood around our cabinet table and in Parliament as well. So I think it's a very important position, and I'm very privileged to be able to act for the governor when she's not here, which is part as well of being deputy governor.
Anthony says, can you person seeking citizenship give us Caymanians one-day interaction with a new deputy governor without that stress? Okay. Gloria, we asked the tough questions as well. And this one came in from a civil servant, says engagement survey, management and leadership questions have always been woefully low. She's only talking about everything sunshine and roses and embodies the truth. Just watch what happens when the new DG and the new CEO of POX at the helm 6 months and a year from now, mark my word. I'm not sure what's going to happen, but I can't wait to hear what she says about anti-bullying coming from the horse's mouth. Of course, she simply is ignoring anti-bullying. How do you respond to this? It seems like this person is saying that even within your former position there at POX, that there was some elements of bullying happening.
So we very closely monitor bullying within our engagement surveys. There is elements of bullying. It has been on the decline in recent years, so I won't say it's been eradicated. a big part of what we've had to do is to make sure that we have clarity about what we are speaking about with bullying. Some of the bullying that's reported is bullying that persons have reported experiencing in the way that they feel this is coming from a customer or coming from engagement with a peer in another department. So we've had to talk about, a difficult customer isn't a bullying situation. In a customer service role, this is de-escalation tools that we utilize. Some of it is about understanding when having difficult conversations and holding people accountable is not bullying. There's been significant emphasis. Our 6th goal within our strategic plan is on accountability. And we have introduced new legislation that is about bringing a more private sector approach to the way that we deal with discipline. And that can feel uncomfortable for some, but we've been very clear about the responsible use of it and differentiating accountability conversations from bullying conversations. There are some elements where bullying does exist, and we have been tackling those. Before we even dealt with the accountability changes in our law, we rolled out grievance procedures to make sure that we were able to process bullying complaints in a more timely way and hold persons accountable where we have found that to be the case. And then that has meant not only coming to a finding as it related to the bullying allegations, but trying to help people coexist afterwards, where it's about a genuine difference of opinions and hasn't been at the level that anyone needs to be fired over it, but people need to amend their conduct. So we've done a lot of work to address bullying. We can see in the numbers that those have been on a decline within the organization. So I'm happy to see that that is going in the right direction, but there's more work to be done. Absolutely.
And it's so funny because this has triggered a wave of questions from our listeners. And so I think that this certainly demonstrates how incredibly sensitive this is, as well as the fact that it is an ongoing issue. So this person says, Sandra, that person is talking about workplace bullying within government itself. I've actually had doctors tell me that they're treating a number of government employees for workplace bullying. Another person, as soon as they heard that question, chimed in with the following. There's a lot of bullying that happens with junior civil servants between managers and directors, but POX doesn't have zero tolerance of bullying that happens between a manager or director bullying staff. That needs to be addressed. Where are the investigations? So can I say this? Is it possible for us, because I do know that you've got to go, I think there's cabinet this morning, but is it possible for us to have you back on and have a substantive conversation of real substance around this issue of bullying within the civil service? Because I do believe that it is an ongoing issue, and it's obviously very, very important to people who work in the service that this is addressed sufficiently.
Absolutely. Very happy to have the discussions. And again, to talk about the things that we've been doing, as well as the way that you unpack it. So once an investigation has been carried out, once you've had findings, where do you go from there? We're a small community, so people are going to interact with each other, and it's about how do we, move beyond the finding to the resolution.
All right. Let us leave it on that note. I do have other questions that I can save for next time around governance and accountability. And just forward looking now, this is a milestone for the history of the Cayman Islands and for you personally, Miss Gloria. If we look back a year from now and say, that's when Gloria McField-Nixon's deputy governorship started delivering, what is it, do you think, will be the first concrete milestone that people will reflect on if they turn back a year from now and look at your early tenure?
Absolutely. I mean, for us, it's going to be about delivering the government's strategic policy statement. So, watching this space for the way that the government's priority projects are being delivered as they've communicated those to the people. Internally, it's going to be about finishing the things we started. So making sure that we're able to complete our activities under our existing strategic plan, and that we will have engaged within the civil service and the public as we are identifying the priorities for the way forward. It won't be something I do sitting alone at my desk. It will very much be a consultative process. And so that is something that people will see being delivered. by way of open engagement.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you to the new Deputy Governor, Miss Gloria McField-Nixon. First appearance on CMR's The Cold Hard Truth. We appreciate you coming on and addressing the questions that we had for you today, and our audience participation, as always, was truly amazing. So thank all of you. Live Happy says, holding people accountable is not bullying. So true. So thank you so very, very much for joining us. We look forward to this being the first of many conversations here on our platform. As you can see, our audience are very intelligent. They have engaging and thoughtful questions, and we certainly appreciate your responses this morning and joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Sandy, and thank you to all of the persons who sent in messages. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Have a beautiful day.
You as well.
All righty. So, folks, we do have an interview, a pre-recorded interview coming up with none other than Miss Marla Dukran, who is a Caribbean economist. And we also was joined in that interview with Mr. Charlie Kirkernel, who's the CEO of Cayman Enterprise City. Now, please get your second cup of coffee if you need to ensure that you stay awake for this segment, because this was actually quite a very interesting interview. And you guys may have noticed there's a pattern here where we're going to be doing more of these interviews, and we're really going to be stepping up our game, asking some of the tough questions, breaking things down so that we can understand exactly how that works. And so this really was an interview that was surrounding a report, an annual report, which, by the way, I had no idea. In fact, that they did this annual report, but they do this annual report for CEC. This is Miss Marla now. She does this annual CEC economic impact study, and it's been going on for a number of years. And so we had an interview a couple of weeks ago about the one that was just released and what does that mean for CEC and by extension for the Cayman Islands. So have a listen to this, folks. All right, just give it 1 second to queue up. Uh-oh. It's still loading. Give me a second. Hold on. Let me get it to load properly. It is a big file. So perhaps the internet is moving a little bit extra slow. So give me 1 second. It's coming to come, as they say. Hold on, honey child. I see it spinning. So I'm assuming if I see it spinning, it's spinning for everybody, not just me. So, give me 1 second. Still spinning, still working its way around and around the clock. Now my camera claims that it's not starting. What on earth? All right. Let me see here. Oh, by the way, while that, I'm just going to try to re-add it. While that is taking its time, the internet sorting itself out, I did want to make one note, which I thought is actually quite important. Following yesterday's program, thank you so much for those of you who participated. We have certainly received a number of your comments and, questions and everything else. And Miss Universe did make a statement. And let's just say that their statement is more wanting than anything else, right? So we're going to unpack that statement a little bit more, because we're also going to have a response to that statement from the Broderick family. And there's more information that is also coming out now in the forefront. So I think our video is now ready. So sit back and let's have a little discussion here about the real impact of Cayman Enterprise City. Folks, this is a deep dive conversation into the growth, the jobs, the investment, and the future. Data, facts, real conversation. Here we go, honey child. Well, maybe. Right. So joining me today, what a pleasure. I have not had the opportunity to interview one of these individuals, so this will be the first time. So I'm pretty excited about this, actually. But we do have Miss Marla Dukran, who's absolutely no stranger to the platform. She's an economist and advisor, and I must say, always doing very, very interesting things. I am welcoming her. Now, I don't want to talk about her next project, but she's always got something interesting in the pipeline. So you guys are going to have to stay tuned because I think a lot of Caymanians in particular are going to like some of the stuff that she's got coming your way. But Miss Marla, how are you?
I am well. Miss Sandra, how are you? Thank you so much for having me again. It's always a pleasure.
Yes, I am fantastic. Thank you so much for always being willing to join us and have just amazing conversations. I think that you make numbers fun again. I don't know that they were ever really fun, but you know what I mean?
They've always been fun to me.
I know, that's the thing. And then you have a way of breaking it down so the rest of us can go, we can handle this. We can talk about this. So that's really fantastic. And I'm going to tell you guys exactly what we're discussing here. And that's why we have Mr. Charlie Kirkernel also joining us this morning from the Cayman Islands. Most people know him as being part of the Cayman Economic Zone. So good afternoon and thank you for joining us.
A pleasure to be here.
So we're going to get into it. But before we get into some of the details of this report, so this looks at really the impact of the Cayman Enterprise City, right? So it's CEC, and the zone has been around. We'll get some of the background information here, but tell us a little bit before we look at the impact. Charlie, how long has the zone now been in existence?
Yes, so we actually launched as a project in February of 2012, and that was when we brought our first company through the door. We actually were, obviously we spent a little bit of time, quite a bit of time in advance of that, including to get the special, at the time it's called the Special Economic Zones Law. Now it's an act. But took a little bit of time to get the law in place, the regulations in place, and the physical space ready to accept clients and so on. But we actually kicked off, welcomed our first client in February of 2012.
Wow, it's been a minute. So this is so fascinating. And I have an interesting perspective on all of this because I'm maybe one of the few Caymanians who've worked for a company that's been in the zone.
Right.
So yes, we'll get to some of perhaps my knowledge on kind of happens maybe a little bit. I obviously don't have the full picture, but we're going to break some of this down because when people hear CEC or they hear about special economic, this is a very foreign concept to them. They don't understand it. They know very little about it. All they know is now you've got a nice big fancy campus. So they figure from a monetary perspective, things must be going relatively well. But I remember the early days when you started out where you were renting spaces all over. So you were in the HSBC building. That's where we were. You had space in there. Then you had space in town at one of the DART properties. I can't remember.
Yeah, we were
across from the port.
We were in the flagship building.
The flagship building. That's right. And you were I think you had a couple of smaller locations. Are all of those locations now, is it just the one central campus that you have?
No, we still have a few locations. So our main location is Signal House, which is off Fairbanks Road, just outside of central Georgetown, of course. We still have a significant number of clients at Strathvale House. And we have some clients at Brick House on Eastern Avenue. So we still have a fair amount of space outside of our main campus, and what that remains is the pipeline into the main campus, which we will continue to develop over the next many years.
Right. And can we get a little bit of background, Charlie, and how this idea for the zone even came about?
Okay. Yeah, sure. Well, one of the things that you mentioned earlier is that it's a foreign concept to many people in Cayman, but and maybe it is fairly foreign concept on this side of the world. But if you go over to the Far East and and the Middle East, and they are very, very common. The governments use to target specific needs. Let's say if they want to launch a biotech sector in their country, they might use a special economic zone to offer special incentives to biotech companies to come there and begin operating, put training programs in place for the local people and so on. So they're very commonly used around the world. And we do have some on this side of the world as well. I think a lot of people are familiar with the special economic zones in Panama, for example. But then, I've been on the phone recently, just kind of touching base with and making connections with people that are operating special economic zone in Jamaica, in Trinidad, and I've spoken recently to someone who's involved in the launch of a new free zone in Panama. So they are starting to make inroads in a little bit more used in this part of the world.
Just checking to see. Looks like we might have lost the connection a little bit there. So give me 1 second just to refresh. Yeah, something's struggling in the background here today. All right, let me just do a quick commercial break and then we'll restart this interview. We were 7 minutes already in to the interview. So give me 1 quick second and we're going to reload it.
If I'd known, most crashes don't start with bad intentions. They start with small mistakes. If I'd known, one small habit can change everything. Stay alert, stay ready. Brought to you by Rotary Center. If I'd known, most crashes don't start with bad intentions. They start with small mistakes. If I'd known, one small habit can change everything. Stay alert, stay ready. Brought to you by Rotary Center.
Starting from almost zero, including that there was not, and there's still, this is still a work in progress, but there was not a critical mass of locally available technical talent to launch to enable the creation of Cayman as a globally significant hub. So the idea, and this is the way, as I was alluding to earlier, in free zones and how they're used elsewhere around the world, it's a way to kickstart an initiative such as this. So this is what you want to do. You see that these are the industries of the future, jobs of the future. We're very heavily reliant on financial services and tourism, and that became very painfully obvious in the aftermath of the 2008 global financial crisis. The government was interested in finding a way to help create some additional some economic resiliency by building the base of business sectors. And looking at technology and knowledge-focused businesses, that's something that works really well for Cayman. In the form of financial services, let's see if we can't launch an initiative similar to that in technology and knowledge-focused industries. So, and I'm coming back to your criticism, but I just wanted to set the table of why the project exists in the first place. And so the idea is to kickstart that initiative by bringing companies from around the world to open offices here, to start operating from here in a way that they have not done historically, not even in the financial services industry, but in a way that they've not historically done in the past. And in order to do that, offer the types of incentives that make Cayman competitive globally. Because we are competing with businesses that are looking, let's say Dubai, or Singapore as options for setting up their offshore physical presence. So in order to compete for that business, we needed to offer the country needed to offer a set of concessions that made us globally competitive. So that's really, if I kind of set the table with that. Now, coming on to the criticism, and putting it in the light of there not being, again, a critical mass of locally available local technical talent, where the Special Economic Zone Initiative comes with the obligation, in our agreement with the government, to develop programs designed to train local people and to help opportunities within this new sector. And so that's a very it's the quid pro quo. We didn't get through the government lower cost work visas and business licenses for the benefit of putting that in our pocket. We offer that to attract businesses to come here, and at the same time we put together programs designed to train and enable local people, even entrepreneurs that are interested in starting a business in the knowledge and technology space, but programs that are designed to help create that critical mass of locally available technical talent.
So 172 Caymanians and permanent residents in the zone. The report says that number is up 2.5 times since 2020, but it started from 68. In your honest opinion, is 172 out of a workforce of ? Actually something to celebrate?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that it is. And there's around 850 people working in the zone. And again, starting from a standing start of very, very few people in the technology sector locally. Keep in mind that it takes a little while, obviously, for someone. First of all, it kind of comes in phases, and we've actually observed this and talked about it many times with my good friend Sterling on Radio Cayman about one of the first things you have to do is to establish the industry before we'll commit to training for careers in that industry. So that takes a few years. Things that people don't want to do is to train for a career where there's no opportunity, and then they need to retrain for another career, or they need to leave the island to pursue the career that they've trained. So that's the first phase. And once the sector is established, then you have young people looking at it and saying, I see opportunity for myself there, and I'm going to train for a career in computer programming, let's say. Then of course, then they have to actually do the training, and they might be high schoolers. They may need to finish high school, attend university. Do those sorts of things to gain the qualifications that they need to move into the sector. And so those two things take some time, and that's where I believe what you highlighted was the increase since 2020. Keeping in mind that we started in 2012, we are now entering the phase in which we're seeing young people coming back from university that have trained for careers in technology, and looking for opportunities in the special economic zone and elsewhere. I spoke to a young Caymanian who recently returned. Been about I guess it's maybe a little over a year now. He's been back, but he when he was I've known him since he was a kid, and a few years ago, I'm not sure how many years ago, he participated in our internship program. And so he got a feel for what the opportunities were in the space. He finished his degree, master's, and contacted me when he was ready to look for a job. he was having issues. Like one of his first things he was thinking about was starting a career in his particular field in Canada. He was having problems. It's difficult to find opportunities in Canada in his. So he started to look locally, and he chose between. He contacted me, put him in touch with some people. He ended up choosing between either 3 or 4 different opportunities. And he said to me at the end of it, it's like, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, he didn't think he was coming back to Cayman because he didn't think there would be careers available for him in his field. But over the last 7 years, with the way that the industry has developed here, the knowledge and tech industry has developed here, he had choices, and is now working at a special economic zone company, and again, and his father thanked me as well. He's like, I didn't think he was coming back either. So that's just one example, but there are many of these, and there will be many more because we have established the industry here, and young people are going off and getting the training that they need in the relevant. And coming home and finding career opportunities that they 5-10 years ago they would not have found locally. The other thing I want to add to that as well is we have a number of local programs that you don't have to go abroad to train for some of these careers, and in some cases as well, it doesn't need to be a university program that you participate in. That there are certification courses out there that in things like project management and computer support and network systems admin and architecture. I'm naming some programs that we actually have and that are available right now. And so for some people who are looking for maybe a shorter term program that might enable them to enter the knowledge and technology space, sooner rather than later, meaning later being 4-year degree later. There are a lot of very good options available locally for training in these in the knowledge and technology fields. And if anybody would like to hear more about any of this, I would love to hear about it. So anyway, to kind of come back to the question. The numbers of Caymanians and permanent residents that are working in the zone we would love to see that number higher. We, as part of the quid pro quo, deal we have with the government to attract businesses to come here and create the industry, we also are committed to putting in place they are in place. To continuing to execute effective programs that are designed to help local people get the training that they need to enter the knowledge and technology space.
Right. Is it just tech companies then that are able to come into the zone, or is there any, parameters in place about the type of companies that can join the zone?
Yeah, and there are very tight parameters, and it's mostly tech or tech related or tech adjacent. But media companies are eligible to enter the zone. Technology companies, including telecoms, software development, and you kind of traditional what we think of technology. Businesses in the science and technology space, so businesses that are involved in research and development on natural sciences, environmental technology, those sorts of activities. Businesses that are involved in the trading of commodities and/or derivatives, and aviation and maritime services companies are eligible for the SEZ. And what you may notice from all of that is that those are all business sectors that have not historically been used Cayman as a place to operate from, and that's by design. One of the things, by the way, that SEZ companies are not entitled to do is compete in the local economy. So they are in industries that have not historically been based in Cayman or used Cayman as a base for operating. They may not compete in the local economy, so they are their clients and the people that they work with and they work for are outside of Cayman. The other thing I think that people should know as well is that we don't make the decisions on who's eligible, and we don't issue business licenses ourselves. We don't issue work permits ourselves, which is the way that it's done, by the way, in most special economic zones or free zones around the world. There is a Special Economic Zones Act that I alluded to before, regulations to that act that make it very clear, what's eligible and what are the criteria for applying and being approved within the SEZ. And all of this is overseen by the Special Economic Zones Authority, who keep an eye on activity within the zone on an ongoing basis. So, I think all of that is, I will say that when the Special Economic Zone was established, it was very well thought through, and number of the big risks. The government was very mindful that they didn't want to cannibalize the local economy. They didn't want to kind of create a situation in which people are competing in the local economy with advantages that the other companies in competing in the industry might have. And then also we're very mindful that they wanted to make sure that the law and the regulations were adhered to, including the scope of what is eligible for the zone, and so created an authority specifically for the purpose of overseeing the activity. So again, in my opinion, it's a very well put together program. There's very sensible safeguards in place to ensure that there's there's not abuse, and then coming back to that quid pro quo as well, there are requirements on us. And by the way, we go way above and beyond the requirements. I would like, but there are requirements in place that are designed to help develop the free zone project here in a way that is makes sense for Cayman and the people of Cayman.
All right, we're going to give you a break. You're like, thank God. Miss Marla, I know you're itching to get into the numbers. So let's talk a little bit about this report. First of all, how did it come about that you decided to even do a report on the economic zone? Were you just scrolling around our lovely island and one day you saw the campus and you thought to yourself, what's going on here?
So actually, this report is available on Cayman Enterprise City's website and also on my website, because I've actually been doing an economic impact study every year for a number of years for Charlie and his team, and it's been a real learning experience, and it's been a joy to calculate these numbers every year and to talk to people about what the impact is on the economy and how they're having this impact. So I encourage your audience to go to Cayman Enterprise City's website and have a look at this report and the previous economic impact studies that we've done over the years, because I don't know of any other company, whether or not they get concessions from the government, but I don't know of any other company in Cayman that does this on an annual basis, that is accountable publicly on an annual basis for what they add or don't add, or bring or don't bring to the economy, especially for a company that, as Charlie outlined, there are some concessions that the government makes certain provisions for, and they have to return in kind to the Cayman Islands people. And they account for that every year. We have a tourism sector all over the region that is thriving on concessions, meaning for our governments operate in the region, and nobody accounts for those concessions and for what they do in the economy. This is the only entity.
Now her internet connection's a little bit spotty there. So while she's frozen, Charlie, we should talk about the amazing internet that Cayman has to offer. But while Miss Marla is frozen, let me just ask you a quick question then as to why you commissioned this report.
Okay, all right. That was the question I wanted to answer.
Yes. Sorry, Marla, you got frozen, so we're
I'm sorry,
have Charlie
and I was yapping away. I apologize.
Okay.
This
okay.
corridor is so sorry.
No, that's okay. Well, we'll have Charlie fill in here. Charlie, why did you commission this report, and how many years now has this been done?
Well, I mean, we didn't engage Marla initially. We have been reporting on the just holding ourselves accountable since 2013. We have been issuing an annual. Started out as an economic report. Just this has been the financial impact on the islands of the special economic zone over the previous 12 months. We felt the need to do that because we're committed to transparency. And we want to put it out there so that people can see, what is the country's return on investment in this program. Because one thing that we're very cognizant of is that the government is invested in this project, as are the people of the Cayman Islands in the form of concessions granted to businesses that are coming to the island. There is an investment there on the part of the government and the people of the Cayman Islands, and we feel obliged to report on that, to hold ourselves accountable. This is the return on investment that the country is seeing from the Special Economic Zones project. So that's very, very important to me and to us as a project. But one thing we can't, hopefully no one will ever lose sight of. We are Caymanians as well. Caymanian and my the ownership team of this project is Caymanian. We are committed to doing the right thing the right way, and making sure that we are publicly holding ourselves accountable for the outcomes of the concessions that the government and the people of the Cayman Islands have granted to this. For the purpose of developing this knowledge and technology focused hub here in Cayman.
Right. Can I just ask you, you got me thinking about the structure. So is the economic zone considered, is it a company and then you guys you're the CEO and they're shareholders? How is it structured, or does government own the economic zone?
No, we are private enterprise, but I like to describe it is that this is a government project that's been wholly outsourced to us to develop. And there is obviously a partnership there between us and the government, and we take our obligations to the government and Cayman in general. We take obviously that we need to deliver on the promises of the SEZ.
Got it. Okay. Very good. I feel like we're learning so much already. So Marla, looking now at why you became interested in this project, we do have a little bit more background information that they've been doing this for a while. So you've stepped in more recent years to actually assist with the production of this report?
Yeah, I just checked my website, and this is the 6th report. So it's been 6 years that I've been doing. And I remember the first time we chatted, Charlie, and he said we would want to do this economic impact study, and I said, well, the data is going to have to speak for itself. And, if it's not showing a good story, that's not on me, know, and so warts and all, he committed. He said, I'm all in, whatever the data is showing us as to what the impact is. I want to know, and we want to be accountable for what we are doing.
Okay. All right. Very good.
You hardly ever hear that in the private sector, in any sector.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. But that, I must tell you that is one of the things I always tell people, though, because sometimes people say, oh, this lady, Miss Marla, she's everywhere doing reports. And I said, well, she doesn't, it's like me. I don't make up the news. I'm just reporting on it. Right. So you take it or leave it. But there's certainly, we're going to talk about some of the interpretations that have come out of this report, because based on the numbers, we're talking about $1.23 billion with a B of total economic, that's US dollars, of total economic
So about
impact.
$1 billion Cayman.
Yes. Since the CEC started operating in 2012. That's a significant impact, but Marla, you go a step further and you say not only is that a significant impact, but perhaps the terminology you use is the third pillar of Cayman's economy. Now, people go, wait a minute, using the word pillar. What do you mean? So what do you mean by that?
Right.
This economic footprint being quite considerable.
It is. And hopefully my internet holds out. So first of all, you hear about the idea of diversification all the time. And, in my country, Trinidad and Tobago, I've been hearing this word diversification since I was 5, right? But you don't even know what it means. And yet still we are not diversified, simply because governments are not good at doing this. The private sector is what diversifies, is what identifies an opportunity, a business opportunity, a gap of some provision of some service that needs to be filled. So that's the first thing I want to say, that economic diversification is important, but generally governments are very bad at creating economic diversification. They really need to be creating an ease of doing business that then the private sector can then take and run with it and provide solutions to the gaps and to the opportunities that they identify in the economy. And that's exactly what Cayman Enterprise City does. And as Charlie outlined, it was created specifically to achieve something that the existing legislative framework and existing ease of doing business was not achieving. And you have specific zones that he outlined earlier, specific sectors that they are targeting. And these are primarily technology adjacent, and knowledge-based sectors, simply because the future is not concrete, right? And a small space like Cayman, where physical space and physical footprint is at a premium and is very limited, you really cannot achieve a level of economic expansion and economic diversification that is based on bricks and mortar and spaces and being built. So I think that's an important element to understand, that being a knowledge-based and technology-based entity that brings people and brings businesses in that space to Cayman is quite unique and is quite powerful to future-proofing your economy. And this is why I call it a third pillar, because I know in Cayman, we love to say we have a twin pillar economy of financial services and tourism, which is putting your eggs in 2 baskets, basically, right? This is an opportunity and is actually, as Charlie outlined very well, already gained a certain amount of momentum in a direction of creating a knowledge-based economy where people come from all over the world and they are deliberate and intentional about knowledge transfer. Now, foreign direct investment is a very important, if not the most powerful mechanism that the Caribbean has used as as a sort of industrial and economic model to grow, right? Because we don't have capital. So we invite capital from all over the world to set up businesses, oil and gas in some countries, hotels and tourism facilities in other countries. And that knowledge transfer is what has been missing in that model, which is why our people perennially in the Caribbean occupy the lowest level jobs and the highest level jobs go to foreigners. Cayman Enterprise City is very intentional about knowledge transfer. And in this presentation, it's outlined how many interventions they make a year, how much money is spent, how many people pass through all kinds of training programs and internships because they are passionate about making sure that Caymanians have opportunities, not just young, but all Caymanians have opportunities to learn and to seek and gain employment through these companies located in the zone. And so this is all why I would call this a third pillar. They are actually a microcosm doing something that most governments need to be doing, but don't do, or don't do very well, certainly in this region. And they're achieving tremendous things that other countries, and I think we need one of these in every country in the Caribbean, to be very honest with you.
Well, Charlie, that must make you feel good when you hear that type of, an assessment that it's doing so well. But we need to break down and have a look at some of the numbers. It's a model for others to emulate and to want to copy. So this 1.3 billion, how do you get to that number of total economic impact? What's it based on?
Do you want me to take that, or
yes, you want? Please.
Sure. So if you look at the third slide, you will see that what we did was we break down the different variables that we measure. We measure for 2025 on the left, and on the right, we cumulatively added it all together from 2012 come forward to 25, which is how we arrive at 1.23 billion. And so we look at how Cayman Enterprise City spends in the economy. We look at things like, and these are the companies located in the zone as well, the salaries paid by these companies, attorney fees, and annual renewal fees, real estate construction, all of that spending is spending in the Cayman Islands economy. And so we look at the direct spending. Then we look at indirect or induced spending, which is a technical term for sort of like your knock-on effects of those things. And we looked at how much government revenue is earned, as you can see in that fourth column, and then we have a cumulative amount there. So it's very clearly and transparently broken down.
Now, a large portion of this appears to be from real estate. So real estate appears to dominate both the annual and the cumulative impact tables.
And salaries, yes.
And salaries, yes. Would it be a fair comment to say that CEC's economic story essentially is a real estate success story with a little bit of tech to go along with it?
I would say to you, there is that real estate element, as you and Charlie discussed earlier in the beginning of the interview, and of course in constructing the campus. But cumulatively, you have local consumption from salaries at 301 million and real estate at 372. So not too far apart. But I want to actually add something there. On the real estate element, according to the ESO, which they've calculated something called input-output tables. Basically, they've calculated what are the multipliers of different sectors in the economy. When I say multiplier, when I go to the supermarket and I buy fresh produce, let's just say, and eggs, that knock-on impact of what I just did of buying this stuff in the supermarket is that supermarket is then paying farmers for these goods. Those farmers are then taking that income and they are paying their utilities, they are paying their rent, they are paying their workers. And then those workers then do the same what I just did. So So that multiplier effect of the spending was calculated by ESO in their input-output tables, and they found that the sector that has the largest multiplier in the Cayman Islands economy is real estate. Excuse me. And the reason for that is because real estate depends on a few other sectors to make it happen. They depend on certain manufacturing inputs for things like bricks and cement and other elements, building materials and so on. But the real estate sector also impacts legal. The real estate sector also impacts government because you have to pay stamp duties and other kinds of fees. The real estate sector has a very big, it has a lot of tentacles into other things, is what I would say. And so coming from real estate, but real estate is the sector that has the most multiplier and tentacles going out into other implications throughout the economy.
Right. Okay. All right. I think it's important to certainly understand that, again, from a layperson's perspective and how things are interconnected and what trickles down and how it trickles down and how much even of a trickle down for the average Caymanian, right?
Yeah.
Very, very good. So let's look at the channeling global investment locally. So we see that CEC did business with 164 local firms in 2025. What kind of firms are we talking about? Who are these people? And do they genuinely, again, we always come back to this point because I know my listeners, right? They're going to say, well, what's the genuine benefit? Or is this just concentrated among a handful of large vendors? So let's talk about that.
Okay, so I'll jump in. So this is all kind of in the course of business, if you will, where if we're having an event, we will we'll buy we'll buy beer from from a local vendor. We'll buy the food from a local vendor and that sort of thing. And what I'm trying to bring across, it's all just very kind of normal consumption activity that an operation like Cayman Enterprise City will engage in over the course of the year. And that includes our people as well. Marla, is that correct? When we're looking at this consumption number,
yes,
this is SEZ generally, not just CEC, or is this slide out CEC?
This is CEC, not the special economic zone companies, because we can't track, we are not privy to the data on how each of these special economic zone companies spend. They do give us their salary data, which we have there in the chart, the slide just before this one, but we don't have information on how they spend. We have what you spend at Cayman Enterprise City and Enterprise Cayman, I think, as well. Yes.
Clear on that. So so this is, we operate we host over 100 events that happen per year, and we participate in local conferences. We bring people to the island, to kind of participate in those conferences and to take a look around and that sort of thing. So it's normal business consumption spread across the local economy in a way that just a normal business of our size would operate.
Which means that if we had the data on how each of the special economic zone companies, which is almost 500 companies you have now, Charlie, if we had that data on what they spend, it would be huge, right, compared to this. So yes, we don't have all of that.
Yeah. So and just looking at the kind of the kind of names of sectors under there. So things like pensions, insurance, banking,
utilities,
just real estate. We have the government fees that we pay, food and beverage, which I spoke about already. We do a significant amount of marketing. in the local economy and Cayman as well. But this is just the Cayman section. The employment of local people as well. So just to kind of bring across the normal types of business activities that a company like a company of our size would be engaged in. They're not one of those that kind of, it's not a scenario where like everything that happens inside the SEZ and we're much of it as we can, and all of it, not letting anything escape from the SEZ. So we work with security companies, cleaning companies, and all of this activity makes up the 164 local companies that we do business with.
Very interesting. Okay. So the report also highlights that Cayman is 4.3 years behind where its wealth says that it should be in terms of education. Now, of course, this is of grave concern as someone who's been an advocate for as long as I can remember around education and opportunities for people, because it really starts with education, right? The opportunities will follow if you have the requisite educational goals being met. That's the logic. So what are we talking about here? How much can a single special economic zone realistically move that needle? But this is a grave concern, I think, generally speaking. But how much do you think CEC contributes to moving of that needle?
Before Charlie jumps in, because, I mean, he will be able to speak to a lot of the work that they're doing, which we've actually quantified. If you look at, which slide is it? Let me make sure I have it. Right. Slide number 10.
Number 10,
right?
Yep.
It speaks to how much is spent on things like training and engagement with interns and so on. But before we get to those numbers, and before Charlie talks about their education-related work, I was quite shocked. So we do this kind of gap analysis all the time as it relates to different variables across different studies that I do. And what the methodology is that you look at the GDP per capita of Cayman, you match it across many other countries that have a similar GDP per capita, and then you measure a certain variable that you're interested in looking at. How is that country performing on this particular measure? So all of those dots you see on the chart is Cayman, as well as all the other countries in the world that have a similar GDP per capita. Within the band is where we would expect countries that have a certain GDP per capita like Cayman, you expect them to have a certain, this is the average of what number of years of schooling they've had, right? Cayman is below the bottom boundary, meaning Cayman and only other 6 other countries have less years of schooling versus what they should have, what the average is for countries in that GDP per capita bracket, which tells you that you have a real problem. You have a really high GDP per capita, but other countries that have similar GDP per capita, they go into school for a lot longer than you are in Cayman. And so we know that we have a challenge. The average is almost 20 years in countries with your GDP per capita, whereas in Cayman's observed value is 13.6 years on average. So you have a gap of over 4 years of school. That's a whole bachelor's, right? You have a gap of 4 plus years of schooling that we don't do in Cayman, that other countries of your GDP per capita do. And the reason we included this measure in this report this year is because we wanted to highlight how bad the problem is in Cayman, and that Cayman Enterprise City is making significant efforts to address it.
Wow. Okay. So let's talk a little bit then about the numbers and how you came up with that actual percentage, or the year, 4.3 years behind. I mean, that's, again, it might not sound like a lot, but that's a significant amount when it comes to education, right? That's a degree, at least.
It's a huge amount. It's a huge amount. How we came up with it, basically you look at all countries that have the similar GDP per capita, and then you look at how many years of schooling on average those countries have, and then you compare Cayman's. And so we have a 4.3 year, more than 4 year difference between the average and what Cayman has for that GDP per capita. Is quite simple, actually. It's a simple methodology. And I know that Charlie can talk about some of the interventions, because of course $120,000 in spending of Enterprise Cayman that is deployed in the education space.
Yes. Charlie, as a Caymanian, what do you think is going on here? What does this say to you? That gap signifies what exactly? Just your opinion. I'm curious as to what you think is happening.
Well, I think to me, the obvious takeaway is that people are not our local people are not spending, maybe they're not pursuing higher education at the same degree that other countries, or that other countries that have a similar GDP to Cayman, to the same level that those people in those countries are, and whether it's an opportunity gap, or whether there's a motivation gap, I actually don't know what the gap might be, or larger part of the gap might be. I think that I think that there may be an opportunity to show to people that with a little bit of extra time, training, education, and so on, some of these opportunities that seem to be, or might actually be, just a little bit beyond your grasp at the moment. There's an opportunity to close that gap, and it seems to me that it's the type of thing that would take some time. 4.3 years, or whatever the number was, over the entire population of Cayman. It would take it'll take some time to start closing that gap, but it seems that there's a big opportunity for Cayman in starting to find out what are the reasons for that gap. Is it because people are not motivated because maybe they don't see, they don't feel like that opportunity is for them? And I do know that that is an unfortunate kind of perception that at least some people have, when the job as a lawyer at that big firm, that's not for me. Trying to getting people into the mind frame that it is for you. And it's going to take some work. It's going to take some additional schooling. It's going to take some sacrifice, but it is available to you. I think that starts to help motivate people to invest a little bit more in their education. As far as the other thing that I mentioned being opportunity, I'm also aware. I used to be I was on the business staffing plan board for many years. And we're and I don't know maybe this has changed. Possibly it has. Hopefully it has. But there are scholarship opportunities that don't get taken up that are offered by the private sector, we would get letters from it's like, well, why don't you have someone in this in this scholarship position? Well, we didn't get any applicants. Thing again, I'm going back a long ways, but and I that things have changed, and probably or hopefully they have. An issue many years ago where there were people not taking up the opportunity. So I don't, and I do know, and I'm also aware that the government offers a lot of scholarships as well, of scholarship students overseas, studying for a variety of different careers. So I tend to think that it's not necessarily an opportunity problem. I think that there may be. I think that there's this opportunity to kind of show to people that this is achievable. You're going to have to work to maybe spend 4.3 more years in school than you do, but it's achievable and it's within your reach. And I will say that that's actually one of the things that we do in our knowledge transfer programs. We don't just teach or provide like content. A lot of what we do is around networking, inviting and socialization within the industry. So it's not I think we all kind of know that it's not enough to just have the academics, and you do need to socialize yourself within the industry, and whether that just means know how to speak the language, the specific language of that sector, and be able to kind of function within that sector because you spent time in it, and it's just a time thing. We do a lot of what we do is around just plain networking. So even our workshops are they're designed to get people. What we try to do is to get senior people. Let's say if we in our Cyber Sandbox workshop, we do to get senior people to come along to those events as well, and we try to get young people to come along to those events as well, so that you end up with a mixture of people at different levels, and some of what the young people are there for is to people who are in the industry, and then kind of learning to interact in within the industry, and what we want from all of that is that they feel like they belong, where they again it kind of coming back to that to what I said earlier, where some people do feel like this is not for me, and getting people into those sort of networking and social situations which are work kind of business or work focused, but also serve the dual purpose of bringing people along and having them feel like they belong there.
Yeah. This was making me think. Just a couple of days ago, I came across this article in Business Insider that was talking about this lady here. She's known as the godmother of Silicon Valley. Esther, I probably get the last name wrong, but Washiki. Anyway, her daughters are famous. People know her daughters. One is the CEO of YouTube, another one 23andMe, and she has another daughter who's an anthropologist. And her position on this is, despite the fact that we are in the golden era of AI, so we all think that AI is going to replace people and replace jobs and all these other things, right? That a university and a college degree is no longer desirable. It's not required. Everyone can go out there as an 18-year-old and hit Silicon Valley, Cayman's version of it, whatever that is, and just become a millionaire overnight, immediate success. But as someone who's had a lot of experience, both as a mother and as a success in her own right, she has said that this concept that we don't need college anymore and they can just get it all online is so far from the truth, because it offers children, young adults, young people, the opportunity to hone their interactions with human beings. and hit Silicon Valley, Cayman's version of it, whatever that is, and just become a millionaire overnight, immediate success. But as who's had a lot of experience, both as a mother and as a success in her own right, she has said that this concept that we don't need college anymore and they can just get it all online is so far from the truth. Because it offers children, young adults, young people, the opportunity to hone their interactions with human beings, right? A whole other skill set. The act of going through university isn't just about getting that degree in economics, communications, or whatever. It's the experience that comes with it during some extremely degree is no longer desirable. It's not required. Everyone can go out there as an 18-year-old and hit Silicon Valley, Cayman version of it, whatever that is, and just become a millionaire overnight, immediate success. But as someone who's had a lot of experience, both as a mother and as a success in her own right, she has said that this concept that we don't need college anymore and they can just get it all online is so far from the truth, because it offers children, adults, young people, the opportunity to hone their interactions with human beings, right? A whole other skill set. The act of going through university isn't about getting that degree in economics, communications, or whatever. It's the experience that comes with it during some extremely formative years. And there's no substitution for that ever that you're going to get with an AI education. So I thought it was very, very interesting, because as you were speaking, Charlie, why you think that maybe this gap exists in Cayman in particular, I couldn't help but put my mind to, we're still not getting this message. And I think part of it, if we were to be honest with ourselves, part of it comes from the fact that we have been a product of our own success, in the sense that there are a lot of Caymanians who've done extremely well. And, you know, they have homes, they have the car. Maybe that's all they needed to feel good in life. And they're able to get those things and have never had to think about getting any sort of a piece of paper or formal education. And I wonder if we get to a point where that starts to backfire a little bit. And that's starting to account for some of the lapses that we can see against other countries, other jurisdictions who are outpacing us in the world of education. Because there are countries where it's not even a second thought that you're going to go to university, right? Asian countries in particular. Getting a bachelor's degree is like nothing. I mean, that's your
it's
entry
an extension
into
of high school.
Yes, exactly. You know, maybe they think you're special if you're at the PhD level. Even that, it's like, oh, okay, you know, it's expected of you, and you do it, and you put your best foot forth, and you do whatever it takes to achieve those educational goals. So I think part of it is probably a little bit of rewriting the message for our people. And when you talked about the number of scholarships, so oftentimes it has nothing to do with the lack of opportunity. The opportunities are there, but a lot of Caymanians are still not hungry enough. And this is a term that, you know, sometimes we use on the Cold Hard Truth, that we're not hungry enough to really grab those opportunities and to take full advantage. An indictment on us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I add something though, Sandra? And I agree with you fully. Some of it might be cultural. But when you look across Cayman, and again, let's go back to the whole pillars, you know, I know my children, for example, if I told them you have to be either, they will both fall down and bawl and cry, because like, no, I'm not doing that. And maybe a part of it is the fact that we feel we are so limited in the sectors in which we can work. And what I find that, you know, Cayman Enterprise City does with these, you know, much broader sectoral spread of the opportunities that people can find work in. And some of them are, like I keep saying, future proof. I mean, something like cybersecurity. Every company needs cyber. Insofar as you have a network, you need cybersecurity. Even homes, we need cybersecurity. You know, and so these are the kinds of opportunities that the traditional sectors in Cayman will not offer people. And I feel like these kinds of opportunities exist nowhere else in the Caribbean. I mean, maybe Anguilla is starting to look more in this direction, possibly, but in Cayman, you have opportunities in sectors based on the technology orientation of them that you will not find, let's say, you know, in St. Kitts or Trinidad and Tobago. So there already is more opportunity. It's about taking these opportunities. And like Charlie says, talking to people and hearing what is it that we feel are the needs of the future our kind of entity. And if you don't know what you want to study, but you know you're good in math, or you know you're good in physics, well, here's what I would suggest you do. And I think those are the kinds of conversations young people need to be having. But I really do agree with you that even if you are not going to pursue an academic qualification, because not everybody needs to be academic, if you're going to be even a plumber, just study it and be the best and get all of the certification that you can possibly get. Because guess what? Plumbers make plenty money. I mean, when your toilet not working, you're much more desperate than if your economist is not showed up to work today. Let me tell you.
Yes. Yeah. For sure. So this is quite an extensive report, and there's so much more. I mean, we've just scratched the surface here today, quite frankly. There really is so much more in this report. So I encourage people to read it. It's free. You can find it on both websites, CE as well as marladurand.com. Is there anything else that you wanted to really highlight, Marla, in the report that you think Caymanians should be interested in?
I love that you've put on this story that we've highlighted of young Caymanian people who went away, studied, got amazing qualifications, and can now come back and contribute, get a job and contribute to the economy. That's certainly one of the things that I would want to highlight. But also what we've done is we've mapped everything that Cayman Enterprise City does against the strategic policy goals that the government has articulated. And you would see it in the top right-hand corner of this slide. Strategic policy statement alignment under the economy 3 and under education number 9. And there's another slide later on where we set out all of the different activities and accomplishments of Cayman Enterprise City and its zone companies against what the government has articulated is their strategic policy statement. And the point we're trying to make there is that this operation, Cayman Enterprise City, and what they're doing directly aligns with so many of the goals that the government has articulated that they are trying to achieve for your economic development in Cayman. And that's what I would like to leave your audience with.
Charlie, is it sustainable? I mean, it's a good pace, very successful thus far. Is your opinion that the pace can be sustained, this type of acceleration?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's not thousands of people, arriving every year. It's between 100 and 150 people arriving, or that's the growth. Most of those people are, I guess those were the applications. So somewhere between 100 and 150 people per year is the growth of the SEZ. That to me is sustainable. If we were, there was thousands of people per year, I think that would be problematic for Cayman. We could absorb that. So I think that the pace of growth is in the right place, and I do believe that it's sustainable, and and I think that it's not just sustainable from the point of view of can the country support it, but it's sustainable from the point of view of things not happening. The pace of change just in general in Cayman not being so fast that that people are getting whiplash from it. So I think I think there is room for I guess a larger pace of growth without being uncomfortable for Cayman, but where now I believe is in a good spot and works well for Cayman just generally.
Fantastic. Well, like I said, we've only touched the beginning of this. Please, folks, get yourselves a copy of the report. Have a read through it. I'm sure that you may have questions. We can certainly have those discussions on our broader platform about what else is there. But yeah, it's a good start. And Charlie, congratulations on, Cayman Economic Zone. The campus, I haven't done like a full tour, but I have been there to do, sort of this past year, the media segment that you did with the collaboration with the Chamber at Leadership Cayman. So that was really quite good. And I got to see some of your facility. So congrats. And it's good to see that, there are other ways to diversify what we are doing here in Cayman, and there are things that can actually work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah. Well, if I may, I'd just like to kind of close, if I could, by just saying that, this report, us being on here today, and all the things that you see us doing publicly, it's all about the transparency and our being transparent, and making and holding ourselves accountable, to the country for delivering on the promise and the potential of this project. We take very, very seriously there's not just they take very, very seriously the obligations that we have to help develop that critical mass of locally available talent, to make sure that there are opportunities for Caymanians in the SEZ, whether from a career point of view, or from if they're entrepreneurs. And if anybody would like to kind of discuss any of this, directly with me or anybody from my team, please reach out. We're not trying to operate in the dark or kind of behind the scenes. It's very, very important to us that people understand what we're doing, understand why it's important, and including now and for the future.
All right. Well, fantastic. Folks, we'll put some details here at the bottom of how you can reach out to the team there and their website address. Thank you both very, very much for this very educational and interesting interview. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Cold Hard Truth on Bobo 89.1 FM. Cayman's #1 talk show is live weekdays from 7:30 a.m. Never miss an episode again. Watch anytime on CMR's Facebook and YouTube channels for the latest show episodes. Don't forget to follow us online on our social media channels. And visit CaymanMarlRoad.com for all the latest news and community happenings.